right, when you open up your copy of 20 Poetry Projects for your list poem, you are going to see a list of 20 different things that you should do in your poem before you are finished. This is one of the most successful activities that I think that I teach in class regarding poetry, but it's also very difficult. One thing I want to warn you about is that it gets a little weird and strange, but you just kind of have to roll with it. So it says to start with a simile. Honestly, you can start with a simile or a metaphor, but you're going to start by comparing two different things, and then you're going to keep comparing those two very different things throughout the entire poem. Let's get this out of my way. All right, so I'm going to start at the top, and it says start with a simile or a metaphor. So I am going to compare... I'm going to compare. I got to think about this a minute. Let me think. I'll come back. Okay, I really had to think. At first, I started to come up with a lot of cliche ideas, like life is a highway, already been done. Our family is a tree, already been done. So I really wanted to come up with something original. And so I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare teaching to driving through a roundabout. So teaching high school. Okay, teaching high school is like driving in a 2-lane roundabout. Okay, so I completed this one. I'm just going to get rid of it now. Teaching high school is like driving in a 2-lane roundabout. Say something specific, but utterly preposterous. Oops, that did not work out very well. We're just going to leave those there, I guess. Specific, but utterly preposterous. The car is rusty. The car is a rusty old Ford. No. The car is a rusty old Ford Tempo. That flies. I don't know. Okay, it's weird, but I'm just going to rock with it. Use at least one image for each of the 5 senses, either in succession or scattered randomly throughout the poem. So I already used rusty, which is sight, right? Sound. The car is a rusty old Ford Tempo that flies. How about engine purring? So I added in sound. Taste, the tempo that flies, engine purring. Gas on the tongue. It's weird, but I'm going with it for taste. Gas on the tongue. So it's sight, sound, taste. So now we need touch, right? And smell. Touch and smell. The car is a rusty old Ford Tempo that flies. Engine purring. Gas on the tongue. The sweet smell of freedom. So near. Yet the bumps so high in the asphalt, yet the curb near enough to feel the jolt each time you hit. Okay, so in order to make this successful, right, I have to be describing driving through a roundabout in an old rusty car, but I also have to be thinking about teaching. So in general, teaching is obviously not always a straight shot kind of a fantastic ride, right? So I know that I want this drive through the roundabout to be rough and confusing, because that is definitely what my teaching career has been like. And so I'm thinking about all that while I'm incorporating those senses. All right, so I did number 1, number 2, number 3. Use an example of synesthesia, which is mixing the senses. For example, something smelling blue. So let's see. Okay, so, all right, so I had to pause for a second. I got to think about this synesthesia. So again, I'm thinking about teaching high school, thinking about driving in a roundabout. Now I need to use synesthesia, which is mixing the senses. So, let's see, maybe I'll talk about the music. The tunes on the radio taste like those Harry Potter jelly beans, a bizarre mixture of strawberries and vomit that first year. Okay, now I need to use the proper name of a person and the proper name of a place. But Christy keeps on driving. Round and round the hallways of Oshkosh North. So proper name of a person, proper name of a place. So as you can see, I am just plugging along, right? So now I need to contradict something I said earlier in the poem. So something I said earlier in the poem, I need to go back to, and I need to contradict it. So the engine really doesn't purr, but sputters and squeals. Okay, so I contradicted what I said before. Change direction or digress from the last thing you said. The engine really doesn't purr, but sputters and squeals. Like what else sputters and squeals? Like a faucet full of air from the well at Ed's Lake the summer of, I'm going to age myself here, the summer of 1990, when my bangs were bigger than my dreams. Okay, so anyway, so I'm just plugging through this, and eventually it's going to feel like a really weird mixture. I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to kind of make some fine-tuned adjustments, but really it's just going to teach you to do a lot of cool things in your poem that you normally would not if you didn't have to complete this insane list. So because this poem is really, really difficult and hard to muddle through, I am going to give you 2 days to work on it. I'll just go through the rest here. So use a word slang you've never seen in a poem. So just a word that's kind of strange that you've never seen, that I wouldn't have seen in a poem. You guys know all kinds of language that I don't know. Use an example of false cause-effect logic. So my logic can't make sense. So when I said my bangs were bigger than my dreams, I might say, something. So, and because I curled them so, and because, and my pink glasses were the reason I've had 2 husbands. Okay, so that's really weird, right? False cause effect. My pink glasses were not the reason that I have 2 husbands, or I've had 2 husbands, but maybe that's what I'm going to use. Anyway, you're just going to keep on muddling through all of this. Yes, it's going to be hard. All you have to do is the best that you can and turn this baby in, and maybe it'll be fantastic and maybe it'll suck, but at least you did your best. All right. Message me if you have any questions.